The next presenter is friend and colleague Eric Dwyer, Associate Professor of Foreign Language Education in Teaching and Learning, and he's going to be presenting on clarifying bookmarks.
Hello. I think it works, right? Oh, cool. All right, well, clarifying bookmarks, it sounds like a blast. All right. I want to take you, what is a clarifying bookmark? What on earth could that possibly mean? Any ideas there? I didn't think about that. What this has to do with is, Hillary said, we're going to talk about, what I want to talk about is a way to engage classes over difficult topics. Now let's think about what happens when we have difficult topics. And I'll take it from a foreign language education perspective if I possibly can. And namely, some experiences that I had way back when I was teaching at an English language institute. When I was teaching folks, advanced students who are trying to go into graduate school in practicing. And one of the classic ways of learning a new language, especially at the advanced levels, is through debate. So we're going to look through that and see if we can contextualize it a little bit. Another part of that is helping people work on their reading skills. And so what I'm going to do is take those techniques and advance them to native speaker-like type of levels and see what we can do. All right? In figuring this out, let's see if we can see what happens when we have not just debate, but any type of spirited discussion, and see if we can also add some safety and diplomacy into the way that we organize those sort of debates. Now, one thing I want to establish, even before we start using this sort of strange thing called a clarifying bookmark, is the idea of making certain that there are some rules. And Maria Elena, right, alluded to this a little bit in terms of online discussions. It works the same way with working in class, is making certain that there's a rules and establishing the rules. And I'm finding the more and more that this is not, we always talk about rules. There's some folks from the public schools here. We always talk about rules and establishing the rules of engagement in class all the time. Almost every day you go over the rules. You might have rules on the board, rules on the wall. Well, in college I'm finding it's no less necessary. So, and especially during a spirited discussion, and definitely in online discussions, when you need to take care of some of the rules. So here are some ideas that come from a colleague named Mido Singham. So we are positive in our personal comments. We take turns. We note the compulsions of both talkers and listeners, and you alluded to that too. Those people who are more quiet and those people who are big discussants. We stay on topic, refer to pre-readings, and we'll talk about that in a second. We explore new ideas, and we summarize. So let's see if we can figure out if those are our goals of how we can conduct a discussion. In that mind, I want to get closer to what is a clarifying bookmark, and it comes from two sources, namely an idea that goes back to the Harvard researcher in 1973 in first language acquisition, how children learn, called pivots. And Roger Brown talked about how 2-year-olds start creating their sentences, 2-word sentences, like mommy cookie, mommy sock. And so building on a frame and building on, so the pivot would be mommy, and then everything adds on to it. And that's how language slowly builds. But we do that in second language acquisition too. We do it in something called frames. We don't call them pivots. And you see that in work that Hillary and I did with Sharon Cossack 10 years ago. Here's an example. So you deconstruct a sentence. Like this is from a science book. The mammals can be recognized by their skin skeletons and live births. They have constant temperature, and they can be found in water and on the ground. So you see the gold letters there. And what you do is you can deconstruct it and put in frames. So we're starting to fill in the blanks. And those blanks can be filled in by quite a number of different phrases and ideas. So that's where we go. So what you have in your folder is my own sort of set of debate-type deconstructed phrases here and ways to begin a sort of discussion. So we're going to take these out here in a moment. We're going to work with them. So today, we're going to work with a few clarifying bookmarks. Now, this is by no means the limitation of the bookmarks. You can create a whole bunch of certain linguistic skills and notional skills and functional skills that help us work through a debate. So we'll do those in just a moment. Now, why would we go to a resource like this during a debate? Doesn't that interrupt what we're doing? Well, we're going to prepare our debate by looking at these first and then do a reading. And then we'll use these during the debate to make certain that we have a little bit of confidence, to make certain that it goes down okay. And to do that, we need to practice some of the academic comments, and it also should allow some of the people who are not so prone to participating so quickly to jumping in and practicing jumping in. It's not going to happen overnight, but we'll keep track, and the students themselves can keep track of the degree to which they are willing to jump in. So let's have a look at that. We're going to read a passage now. And what I want you to do, all of you are at a table, and I'd like each of you to take to go around in your table, and if you would please start naming yourself either yes or no. One of you is yes and one of you is no. So you go around and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. If you would do that, please, now at each of your tables, who's yes and who's no. Okay, so for those of you who said yes, you're going to read this page that says, actually, yes, I do mind taking off my shoes. And those of you who said no, you're going to get the back page. And the back page says, not wearing shoes in the house. And I'll give you a moment, if you would please, to look at and read that page. Go ahead and just read it. Now, before you read, even though I said go ahead and read, don't read, I want you to look here on this page. And you have ways to agree with the page, ways to agree with the page, ways to disagree with the page, giving evidence, being a good listener, using critical thinking, and raising a question. And as you read, go ahead and see if you can fill in any of these sentences, maybe two of them. You don't have the time to do all of them right now. Let's take two of them. See if you can fill in two of these phrases, because you're going to try and use those phrases when you start discussing in just a minute. Are we all clear on the instructions? I've given you two things at the same time, which is a violation of good teaching, but that's what you're going to do. All right? All right, so we're going to look at these, try and fill in at least two of the phrases while reading either your yes side of the page or the no side of the page. Okay, of course, during a good discussion in class, you're not going to rush as much as I am right now. But it gives you an idea of what you can do. And certainly, during class, you can use more than two bookmarks there. So now let's go real quick over what we're going to do next. We'll review the debate rules, and then when you start discussing, go ahead and look down at that top page where you wrote your notes on the clarifying bookmarks page, the very top page. And anytime you find that you've used that sentence or that idea that you've already prepared, go ahead and put a check mark next to it. Now, I'm going to ask you in a minute to start. And what I'm going to ask you to do right now is see who's going to start at the table. And who's going to start at the table? We're going to take a pencil. So I can take a pencil, and then we're going to spin it. Ready? And this is a da-da-da-dum. And so you get to start, right? So she will start the discussion. So somebody at the table, go ahead and take a pen and see who's going to start the discussion. Okay. Now, some of you have seen, what is our topic? Which is, believe it or not, one of the most controversial topics I've ever encountered in an English as a second language classroom. All right, for the cultural reasons that you identified earlier. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start a discussion with our starter, but then other people can jump in. Let's have a discussion. We're going to go 5 minutes, and let's see how many of your clarifying bookmarks you can use over the 5 minutes. Is everybody ready? 5 minutes. On your mark, get set, go. All right, good job, everybody. Appreciate that. Now, at the top of your second page, on the very first page, you have your bookmarks, right? You have the bookmarks on the very first page, and on the second page, right on the back of it, you have at the very top, you say right here, da-da-da-da-dum, boop-da-da-doo. Right here, you have a self-evaluation, and on the self-evaluation, it asks you, I used the bookmarks how many times? And then you also going to say there, this is how comfortable I felt. All right? So go ahead and fill that in real quick. Now, why would I ask you to do that? Anybody? Why would I ask you to do that? You're correct. I don't use it just one time. We use it on an ongoing basis. You were right there. So so now let's go ahead and have a little bit of discussion. Let's think about, are there any other bookmarks that you can imagine while performing these? Are there any sort of bookmarks you thought of that weren't there? Or you had 6 to choose from, which is maybe too many for today, but were there any others that you wish you had? Like yikes? Sure, why not? Expressing surprise or yeah, some sort of emotional expression. Like, wow, I never realized that. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so some sort of emotional exclamation. That would be good. All right? So those are the ideas here on bookmarks. Fabulous, that's it.
Are there any questions for Eric?
Yes, ma'am. Correct, yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I work as a reading specialist here at the Learning Center, and I think it's, and I also, I use this, and I think it's an interesting thing that comes up as we're trying to teach them to argue constructively and have them give a well-rounded debate, really taking a look at, as they read the material, to make sure that what they're debating or what they're arguing is founded in the text. There's a lot of emphasis from Ford and all of us anti-discussing, in order for them to present an argument, has to be founded in the text, not just their own opinion. Yes, you have an opinion, but based on what? Do you find, as you're reading these debates, as you're reading these arguments, can you pick up, and how easy is it to pick up when a student hasn't read the material and it's just, they're giving an opinion from the hip?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that, and I also find that in the development of vocabulary learning, that this becomes important. One of the clarifying bookmarks that I didn't put here that I thought maybe might come up is compare and contrast. So the type of things that promote more critical thinking in our debates. So you can think about things like that.
Do you find that this translates to writing? Have you seen a transfer to writing?
I have seen transfer to writing, but I've seen better transfer through, there's better transfer when you have the debate online before the speaking the next day. And there's some pretty good data and dissertation work showing that the development and the clarification and also the exactedness of an argument is much better if it's put together on an online discussion the day before there is an in-class presentation. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it sounds a little canned at first. So, I mean, that may be a critique of it, but we got to start someplace. Yeah, I agree with that. Last comment. Oh, you're correct. So that would be an idea of giving them the clarifying bookmarks before they do the online discussion, wouldn't it? I like that idea. I haven't done that. I like that idea. It's like, Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Meg. We like that. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? All right. Hey, thanks very much. It's nice to see you. That was a blast.